Hi guys, welcome to Snake Milk. I'm Vanny and with me I've got Misty. She's my spotted python, a year and 9 months old or so, and she's co-hosting today's video. The topic of this video is, I've got 3 questions for consideration. So one of the questions that we're going to consider today is your pet snake domesticated? Another question we're going to consider today is your pet snake tamed? And one more question we're going to consider today is, can your pet snake trust you? Well guys, let's go ahead and dive into this and let's try to answer those questions. Stay tuned. While we consider if our pet snakes are domesticated, if they are tamed, and if they can trust their owners, we're going to follow Whirly as she explores the backyard on a beautiful Friday morning, mid-morning, and we're going to see how she blends into her environment and how she just effortlessly seems to move through the weeds and the leaf litter, and you'll see that at times she is completely camouflaged. So let's go ahead and get right into it. One of the very first questions I ever had when I started keeping snakes as pets was, is my pet snake considered domesticated? Some people will say that domestication of animals takes thousands and thousands of years, while others will say that it takes about 10 to 12 generations of about 20 to 30 years per generation. The word domestication comes from the Latin term domesticus, which essentially means belonging to the house. Okay, well, let's consider what the word domestication means and how we work with that term. Domestication is the adaptation of a plant or animal from a wild or natural state to life in close association with humans. So in order for an animal to be considered domesticated, that means that the animal works for humans. There is a mutualistic type of relationship between the human and the domesticated animal. Humans have domesticated animals in order to use them as food sources and also to use them as a workforce, such as using horses and cows or other beasts of burden in order to help with workforce and lighten the load for humans. Over thousands of years, humans have domesticated animals such as dogs. Cats are actually, or can be considered, semi-domesticated, but they have domesticated cats, they have domesticated chickens and sheep, but all of this has happened over a very long, a very extended period of time of thousands and thousands of years. So when I have read about people considering that it takes about 10 to 12 generations to domesticate an animal, and each generation is about 20 to 30 years, that is a bit unfathomable, and especially with reptiles, because reptiles are so different from mammals. Mammals want to be with humans. So for example, cats seek out human companionship. Dogs will work for humans and not necessarily only for food. Dogs want to be companions. Dogs will work for maybe not just a treat, but also for toys and things like that. Snakes are cold-blooded reptiles. They do not work for humans in the way mammals do. They will work for survival. For example, some reptiles can be trained to follow mazes and follow objects in order to obtain a food reward. They are working for themselves, though, not for the trainer. Food motivation will always be the key when it comes to training reptiles, especially snakes. They will be motivated to follow an object or to go into a maze and navigate their way through that maze in order to find food, because it has to do with their survival. It has to do with eating. But a trainable reptile cannot be considered to be domesticated. Believe it or not, even elephants are not considered domesticated, and they have been working with humans for centuries and centuries, and yet we're still not at the point where we can consider elephants to be domesticated. Simply put, we have not been keeping snakes long enough for plenty of generations for us to say that snakes are domesticated. While some people may say that we're pretty close to domesticating snakes, the truth is, guys, reptiles are not easily domesticated, and it would take so much longer than just, let's say, 10 to 12 generations of about 20 to 30 years. If we've been working with animals like elephants for so much longer and they are not yet domesticated, imagine how much longer it will take for us to truly domesticate snakes. And snakes have been kept in captivity for a few generations now, and they do look different with morphs, and their behavior is a little different, but they remain wild. They are not yet domesticated. Based on my observations keeping my own pet snakes, I can confidently say that pet snakes are not domesticated. Something else that I wondered when I started keeping snakes was, are my snakes tamed? Can I consider my pet snakes to be tamed because I'm able to handle them? Well, this one is a little bit easier to answer, but it goes back to the word domesticated. So an animal that is domesticated is a tame animal, and a tame animal is kept as a pet or is kept on a farm. However, snakes are kept as pets, but they are not fully tamed, guys. They are not at all domesticated. So the word tame is a trait that is added to the definition of domestication, and we're not there. So snakes are not domesticated, but can they be tamed? Well, again, let's think of tameness as a trait. So maybe there is something about that word that we can attribute to pet snakes. So let's think about it for a second here. So when something is described as tamed, it can be considered to have been changed from the wild or savage state so as to be gentle and can be approached by humans. A tamed animal is no longer afraid of humans, but is that the case with snakes? The fact that people have to work with their snakes and condition them to handling, especially the younger snakes that may be highly defensive, tells you that the snake is not tame from the start. You have to put in some work in order for your snake to trust you. And so when we think about our snakes as pets, we can certainly think about them as being tamed. But there's more than that going on with this word. So I do not consider my snakes to be fully tamed. And the reason why I don't consider them to be fully tamed is because my snakes can go into particular modes, such as a defensive mode or a feeding mode. And when that happens, my snake may not be particularly safe to handle at that moment. I have to convince my snake that it is not feeding time or that it's okay, there is no danger. And because I have to work with their mental state in that fashion, I do not consider my snakes to be fully tamed. I do believe that my pet snakes are still wild. And can I reach into some enclosures and take hold of my snake if needed because I have to clean the enclosure or I have to move the snake or I'm doing something in the enclosure? Yes, I can. Most of my snakes, I can reach in there no problem at pretty much almost any time of the day, and I'm fine. I don't have to worry about my snakes acting defensively. But that's actually going to take us to our last question, which is the question of trust. But I still have some snakes that when they are hungry and they think that food is coming, then they're going to be in a particular mode. And I'm going to have to think about how I want to approach my snake if they are in food mode and I need to go in the enclosure or I need to take them out for whatever reason, but that is because they are not fully tamed. So just keep that in mind. I personally do not believe that snakes are truly tamed. Yes, they can be docile while you're handling them, but that's just part of the definition of tamed. It's only part of it. There's more that goes into the definition of tame. So much like the word domesticated, tamed also has a lot going on within the definition. And it does mean to change from a wild or savage state, to be completely unafraid of humans and to easily be handled. But that's not the case with snakes. So they are not quite tame, guys, not all the way anyways. Moving on to our third question, can your snake trust you? Okay, so this one is going to be by far the easiest question to answer. We've established that pet snakes are not domesticated animals. Pet snakes are not fully tamed. But what about trust? What do we know about trust and pet snakes? When you're working with a wild animal and keeping it as a pet, now this is an animal that is not considered domesticated. This animal is not fully tamed. What you're going to want to focus on is trust. You need trust in order to build a solid relationship with this animal that will allow you to condition it to handling and to work with this animal in a manner that will keep both of you safe. Your behavior towards your pet snake has to be reliable in order for your snake to trust you. When it comes to your pet trusting you, pretty much that means that your pet has the assured reliance of your character, your ability to behave a certain way, or your ability to remain safe for them. Now, trust is going to be the big one with your pet snake, and I'll tell you why. So we now know that our pet snake is not domesticated. We now know that they are not fully tamed. But they can trust you. They can learn. Because of neuroplasticity, snakes can learn to trust you. They can learn to trust the way that you behave. They learn to trust the way that you treat them. They know that you are not a threat to them when you interact with them on a regular basis. Now I'm showing you right now, I am touching Tsunami while Tsunami is traversing on the land. And yes, Tsunami may pause, may stop a little bit and move, but Tsunami's not striking at me. Do you see that? Tsunami's not coming back. And look, I'm touching her in different ways. So I want to see what her reaction is, because she's out here in nature. She's out in the open. I'm towering over her. Not intentionally, guys, but I want to show you that I can touch this snake and she trusts me. So she's not turning around. She's not whipping around with a bite, ready to make sure that I'm not going to hurt her, because she trusts me. She trusts my behavior to be safe. She knows that I'm not going to hurt her. Look, I'm just going to, again, just gently touch her. And I'm not even touching her like close to the first third of her body. This is closer to the end of her body, giving her plenty of space and time to come around and see what I'm up to and try to stop this, because she's on the move and I'm pretty much over her. That might cause some reason for her to turn around and figure out what's going on and maybe give her some cause for mistrust. But because I work with Tsunami on a regular basis, I handle her. So the one thing that I think will make my relationship as a pet owner with my pet snake a good relationship is going to be trust. That fundamental trust that Tsunami has in me, because she knows that I'm not going to hurt her. Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm touching her while she's moving around. And I'm standing near her and over her, and even like that, she's okay. She's calm. She's not trying to get away from me. So real quick, I wanted to show you my pet snake and how well adapted she is to life as a pet. So while she's neither domesticated nor fully tamed, she does trust me, and here she is getting a nice big old gulp of water after spending about 20 to 25 minutes outdoors, 85 degrees Fahrenheit out there, mid-morning on a Friday. The warm side of her enclosure is 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And the cool side of her enclosure is actually about 75 degrees Fahrenheit, so she does prefer the cool end. Well, there you have it, guys. So if you were wondering if your pet snake is domesticated, is your pet snake tamed, and does your pet snake trust you, I hope that this video answered those questions for you. Thank you so much for staying with us to the end of the video, and we certainly hope to see you here again next time. Y'all have a good one. Bye.